One by speedrunners, noobs and leads. Welcome once again. It's the Idiot Gamer Podcast. Welcome back once again, ladies and gents. We've got Andy in the house.
Hello.
And we've got Matt in the house.
Hello.
We're all on the pod. And how are we feeling?
All pretty good, thank you very much.
It is a sweltering Sunday afternoon. Or is it? It's not even Sunday, is it?
It's Monday.
It's Bank Holiday Monday.
It's good times.
It is clammy.
It is very, very clammy.
Yes.
Well,
This is the sweatiest podcast we've ever done.
Oh, it really is, isn't it? We're getting into the summer season. Are we prepared for this? I might have to have some kind of fan set up.
Yeah, I've optimised the through draft in my house, so I can sit down, play video games. I'm next to the kind of the doors open into the garden, so I feel like I'm getting the summer, but I'm just playing video games. So it's great.
One major issue that I'm having, and I think, Matt, you're struggling with the same problem,
Yeah.
is when we're playing online, wearing the headphones now is quite an ear sweat problem.
Yeah, I don't have like the big closed cup headphones like you guys have got. Mine are quite small, so I've got a bit of aeration around my lug holes.
Yeah, good for you.
I've got big soft cans on, and they are so sweaty inside.
Yeah.
It's really, really unpleasant.
Yeah, I've got that. It's a bit of an issue, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah, I'm going for in-ear like next time until it gets a bit more British.
There's no a bit more British. There's no perfect solution for the bloody headphone thing, because if I have the in-ear ones, they start hurting after a while.
Yeah, you also don't get full surround. So I've noticed when I'm playing Overwatch or Fortnite, I can hear sort of, people coming from behind and stuff like that. Whereas in the in-ear, it's very much like left and right. You can't really determine where people are.
Yeah, it's not so good. There's no perfect solution for these things. Well, you could go outside, like enjoy the sunshine or something, but no.
That's not gonna happen.
No, that sounds terrible, doesn't it? So, in the news this week, what have we been seeing, folks? Because I've got three exciting things that, well, they're not exciting, but there's three things that I noticed from the news this week.
Yeah, go. You shoot, because I've got nothing to add.
I've got at least one more, but we can discuss it after.
Excellent. So, first thing that upset me a little bit is apparently they've remastered Dark Souls, and that is now available, and people are excited.
They have.
It really makes me laugh, right? Because when I first started playing video games with you guys, like all you ever did was talk about Dark Souls, and it has been a common theme that your personal gripes against Dark Souls. I've never even seen 5 seconds of video gameplay.
Well, lucky for you,
whatsoever.
It represents many things that I hate about gaming.
Okay, I'm not coming at it from I haven't played this, I hate it. Like, which I do with a lot of things, where I make judgments without actually having experience.
Perfect.
I have played Dark Souls 2, and I have played Bloodborne, which might as well be a Dark Souls game.
And go on.
And I did not enjoy them.
Well, of course you didn't.
But
they're not designed to be enjoyed, Matt. They're designed to be endured, which is very
true.
different.
And this is the problem I have with it. There are people who love these games, and there are some people I know who love these games. I have watched someone this weekend play through half of Dark Souls remastered, and
Jesus,
I think it's quite good to watch someone play it, but it makes me realise how little I want to play those games. Because to give you an idea, Andy, imagine a third-person game that's not open world. It's almost quite linear in terms of the way it guides you through. Mm-hmm. There's no map, so you can get massively lost.
Okay.
And all of the enemies are hard as nails, designed to be hard as nails. That's what it is.
That sounds horrible.
Yeah, and it is.
The problem I have with it is that it's got this reputation for being this incredibly designed game and all these brilliant enemies, but in reality, it's just got a shit camera and a bunch of enemies that attack you in ways you can't understand. Yeah. So obviously they're hard.
Yeah,
and then all you do is you see like people who find a way to like cheese the enemy into a corner so he can't move anymore. Indeed. And then they like hack it in for 10 minutes. Like, yeah, fucking brilliant. Cheese that guy.
Indeed.
That's rubbish.
That does sound rubbish.
So one of the arguments that the guy I was watching was making was that the interesting thing about it, and I'm doing the air quotes thing like an arsehole, but is that the game doesn't actually level your character up very much. So by the time you finish the game, your character is only sort of 2 or 3 times more powerful. Your sense of progression comes from you getting better at the game.
Oh, fuck off.
Yeah, indeed. But
get out.
My argument is, if a game's hard, I'd rather it was a platformer or something.
Look, the only thing that Dark Souls is good for is when that fella one-broed it by playing on a set of bananas.
Yeah, indeed.
That was the only thing it was worth being alive for.
Kudos to that,
There we go. Well done, banana chap.
We should, however, make Andy play it at least once.
Well, that would be a good series for the YouTube channel.
Yeah,
maybe.
I agree.
We'll force Andy to play it.
I will do it as long as somebody furnishes me with a free. Is it on PlayStation?
Yeah,
they give me a free copy
yeah.
of it on PlayStation,
Okay.
and I will stream some for the YouTube channel definitely.
Okay.
Okay,
Nice.
maybe we'll get onto that.
We'll sort that out.
Yeah. Apart from me being annoyed at Dark Souls, then there was another release this week, which was David Cage's Become Human, or Detroit's Become Human.
Yeah.
Right. Now, we had a little bit of a chat about David Cage games the other day.
Yeah.
Quantic Dream
Yes.
is his studio, yeah. So it's been released now, and none of us have purchased it. Why is this, Matt?
I had it on pre-order. I cancelled my pre-order because they'd put a review embargo in. I genuinely will cancel a pre-order because I've generally got an opportunity to cancel my pre-order by the time I've seen the reviews.
Yeah.
But I want to pre-order it because I think, oh yeah, I want that. By the time the reviews came out, I did not want to refresh that order because a lot of the reviews were very positive of it.
Yes.
But they were saying that the story for it was rehashes of things that had done it better. You know, AIs that are effectively being sort of abused for being AIs. I mean, the clear point there is Blade Runner, where they get called skin jobs and stuff like that.
Deus Ex.
Yeah, and there was also a bit of criticism that they could have used it to say something a bit more interesting politically. So the idea that it could have been, you know, a sort of indicator of racial tensions in America and things like that.
Yeah.
But that they completely bailed on that idea, and it doesn't actually say anything very interesting. It just happens. But they were saying the gameplay's lovely. Now, my view is that's a narrative game.
Yeah.
A narrative game, the story should be amazing, and the gameplay can get away with being a bit wonky.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah.
In my opinion, those kinds of games are only the story. If they don't have the story, then they've got nothing. I didn't go for it. I just that style of game. I enjoyed Heavy Rain briefly, just on the basis that it was kind of unique and different, and you know, it was its own thing. But I did not play it anywhere near all the way through. So I've with this, it just doesn't really appeal to me. No. So I'm not going to bother.
It's like press X to emotionalize.
Well, it's not even that. It's like rotate your R stick to like open
your
the door.
R stick.
L stick then.
Does it come with a special peripheral?
It does, yeah. It's called the R
lube.
The David Cage R stick.
But
Well, there you go.
I was thinking about this earlier, and I was going, imagine if a Mario Kart came out, they put a review embargo on, and then the reviews start coming out, and it goes, oh, the story's very good, but the driving's not very good. It'd just be like, no, I'm not buying that.
I don't know. I think I saw the trailers, and the trailers did look awesome.
The first one did,
and some of the mocap is fucking brilliant. It's some of the best mocap I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Like the way you see people's facial expressions is so cool. But then I saw the lip sync and the script, and I was like, oh, that's so disappointing. Because I think one thing that these games have yet like come to terms with is the fact that if you have that really great mocap technology, you don't necessarily need to do a lot of the exposition and script stuff that you had to do in the past.
I agree.
Explain a character's emotions, explain how they feel through dialogue, because you couldn't show it. Whereas now, I think the actors who are involved are actually really, really good, and the mocap's great, so trust in that process and don't have to like have the guy look really nervous and then have him say to somebody, yeah, I'm really nervous.
Yeah.
You don't need it. Like, just let it be.
I do. That's quite probably though. There's video game story writers who are not used to a new world where they don't have to do the exposition, if that makes sense. They're still writing for an old style of video game.
I think you're absolutely right. And I think as video games progress closer to movies from a production point of view, they probably need to start looking at writing from the same way.
But I do agree with you about the lip syncing and the way that they do mouths now. Is like in games where it's been completely computer generated, they look amazing. But when you've got people doing the motion capture stuff, I've noticed in a lot of games, because the same thing happened with a horror game, I can't remember what it was, but where you were playing through and you're effectively a group of teens in the forest in a woodshed.
Until Dawn.
Until Dawn, yes.
Very good.
The mouths were the same on that, where they looked very, very sort of like realistic, but the mouths were horrible, and it drags me massively out of the game. It's like, if you're going to do that, just every time they're speaking, have them facing away from camera, or you know, holding an ice cream in front of their face or something. It's,
like that in Austin Powers,
because it feels like they've just done the motion capture because they can do it, and it's like, if you're doing that, just sort the mouths out. At least animate them a little bit better.
Shout out, by the way, as we make a mensch for Until Dawn, I want to throw in a little shout out to my mate Jez Harris, who I went to school with, who works for Supermassive Games, who made that game. Well done, Jez.
Well done, Jez.
Thank you, Jez, for almost breaking my controller when I almost like basically soiled myself and threw my controller across the room.
You'll probably be very pleased with that. Yeah, excellent.
I'm just talking about how like rubbishy, crappy dialogues and lip sync and stuff can destroy a game. Horizon Zero Dawn that did that for me, and now I found the game. I mean, the combat and stuff like that was actually really entertaining in that game, and that was what I was most worried about. And I thought, okay, but actually, I found the world a little bit boring. But had the story and all of that stuff been okay, it would have dragged me in. There would have been enough in that game for me to have seen it all the way through.
Yeah.
But the cutscene, the quality of the cutscenes, the quality of the dialogue, the quality of the scripting, the quality of the acting, the quality of all of those things was so shoddy, and it was just really badly put together as well. Like, you know, people were kind of half off screen, and the dialogue it was really buggy and stuff, and it's just that you can't get that stuff wrong. Yeah. You shouldn't get that stuff wrong.
It is still very hard. I think part of the problem is that we are so conditioned to know what a human looks like when they're speaking that even the slightest thing out of whack is really obvious to us, which is why sci-fi is really good, because you don't know what an alien's going to look like. You don't know what these monsters or whatever are going to look like, so it's much easier to believe, funnily enough. But whenever you see a human done slightly wrong, it's so obvious.
Yeah. Just to go back to what Andy was saying about Horizon Zero Dawn, I haven't played it. I have seen people play it. I am going to pick it up when it's cheaper because I've been told it's very good. However, one of the things that I just started laughing at when I was watching her playthrough was the fact this is about, like, you know, mechanicized. I don't even know what the word is.
What was it about?
Mechanized. Let's go for mechanized. Creatures, you know, it's all about technology taking over, all that sort of stuff. And all of the characters had names that were related to metal. Like, there was someone called Alloy and there was someone called Rust. And it was so cheesy. Yeah, and I was just like, come on. No one cares whether, like, I know what you've done, but don't do it.
We get it. We get it.
Especially all serious. I will only take that seriously if that is a comedy game and they've called them that. So.
Right.
And it really is not that.
No.
It takes itself quite seriously.
It's quite sincere, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Which is not things that generally appeal to us.
No.
In other news this week, the Solo film was released. Now, I don't think any of us have seen it yet.
No.
Anyone seen it yet?
Nope. I'm hoping to go this week.
I'm worried, is why I wanted to bring it up on the pod, because I am concerned that it's going to be a bit shit, because the reviews have not been great, and the kind of stuff that people have been saying has been upsetting me a little bit. They've been saying, like, oh, you know, it's a fine action movie, but it's really got nothing to do with Star Wars. It doesn't feel like a Star Wars movie. I'm concerned.
Right. So, I mean, the first problem was them choosing to do Han Solo's backstory.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, of all of the characters in Star Wars where that was not necessary.
Why do we need a backstory for everyone?
Well, you don't, exactly. And of all of the characters that didn't need one, it's him. It is all told. It's all kind of unspoken stuff, and it's like little nods to stuff in the past, like, you know, the Kessel Run in less than 12 parsecs.
Are we going to actually fucking see that?
I have no idea. Well, I don't know, and I don't want to hear spoilers. I honestly don't know. But like all of that stuff. And, like, you know, how he won the Millennium Falcon, all of that stuff is hinted on, and I love that stuff. It's kind of those hidden depths and those hidden layers in his character.
What went down on Chewbacca's 50th birthday party?
Yeah, exactly.
We don't need to know.
We don't need to know all that. And so it was utterly wrong for that. And I said that the second they chose him as their character, I said, "Fuck it, I'm not going to watch that." Yeah. If it feels like an insult against the whole the best character of the whole fucking, well, apart from maybe Leia, but like and it just really annoyed me. And you're right. I mean, by the sounds of things, it hasn't been terrible. Right. But I think it is just fairly a lightweight action film. I mean, I've heard mixed. I've heard some people say they absolutely loved it. I've heard some people say, it's all right.
I'm excited to see Donald Glover, who I believe is about to enter into like a golden period of success, especially being that he's a fantastic actor. We've seen him in a lot of good comedy films, and now he's getting into maybe some more serious roles. But also that his musical side, Childish Gambino, just released an amazing song with one of the best videos I've seen. So I'm excited to see him because I think he's a guy that's going to be pretty special over the next few years.
I agree. I have no desire to see this film. This is the first Star Wars film that has been out in the cinema while I've been at cinema going age that I have no desire to see. In terms of...
That's a sad statement.
I'll see it when it comes out on Netflix or whatever, but I'm not going to go to the cinema and see it.
Imagine that, a Star Wars film you don't want to go and see.
Especially when it's got the Millennium Falcon in, which is just amazing. But I agree with you about Donald Glover. I think I would have been more interested if it was a Lando film.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because, like Andy said, there's absolutely nothing left to say about Han Solo at all, or Chewbacca for that matter.
A Lando film would have been great. We were teased maybe with a Boba Fett film. That would have been fine also.
That's the next one, apparently. I'm excited for that.
That's much better because he's a character
he was destroyed by the prequels for me. I can't take him seriously anymore.
We all ignore the prequels. If you just take the original 3 films as canon, a Boba Fett backstory would be great.
Yeah. But... I think it would be interesting to see his childhood, see what made him like that, but I don't think Disney are capable of doing the film that they need to for...
Is he going to be South African again?
I wouldn't have thought so.
It needs to be... I mean, Boba Fett backstory's got to be dark, it's got to be sinister, it's got to be troubled, he's got to be not some kid going, whee, come on Dad, let's shoot him again.
Yeah.
Yippee!
You do worry about
but
that.
You look at all of the characters in Star Wars that they could have done interesting standalone films for, and they shouldn't have chosen a main character. Absolutely not.
No, they shouldn't. Yeah.
Admiral Akbar?
Yes, I would in a second.
Bib Fortuna?
Yeah. All of them. Like even General Grievous, who was in the third one. Like I'm more interested.
He was actually a surprisingly cool character.
I'm interested in him as a character more than I'm
Yeah.
interested in Han Solo's backstory.
In the prequels, there's lots of really good character design, but all these people just fucking chucked in. Oh, who's this fucking robot guy with 8 arms in all these lightsabers? I mean, just like don't just invent people.
I'm going to lend you 2 DVDs that have General Grievous in them, and they are amazing.
Yeah. I mean, it's just that's what. But the problem with those prequels is they were just those people parachute. We need a villain for the bridging story. So let's just drop Christopher Lee in, shall we? And like the whole Count Dooku thing was absolutely fucking garbage.
look. If we want to do a podcast about how shit the prequels are, that is not just a single section of one podcast. That is an entire series.
Yeah, indeed. Perhaps we should do that. But,
yeah, I'm up for that.
But genuinely, there were 2 DVDs. Jendy Tartovsky, who did Samurai Jack on sort of Cartoon Network, did a Clone Wars series. This isn't the CGI generated Clone Wars. This is animation one, and they are amazing. They are standalone little vignettes of Star Wars, and they are fantastic. I will lend it to both of you.
Very good.
Lovely.
Yeah, so talking about that, I did have this idea. I didn't have it. I stole this idea from someone else, just so we're clear. But it's awesome. The idea of doing a podcast specifically about something that you just go into ridiculous detail on. So, for example, you say, we're going to review the prequels, but every podcast is a 10-minute chunk. We're going to watch 10 minutes, and then we're going to review in incredible, excruciating detail those 10 minutes. And then next week, we'll do the next 10.
I'm up for that.
I am also up for that. That is the only way you're getting me to watch the Star Wars prequels.
I think that would be pretty funny and painful at the same time.
Indeed.
Yeah. Well, there we go. Matt, you said you had some other news for us.
I do, yeah. So I don't remember which podcast it was, but we talked about Donald Trump saying that games were... responsible for violence, school shootings, all that sort of stuff. Yeah. And we said, without a doubt, no, they're not. Some news has come out this week about a game that's in development. It seems very much like money grabbing from some individuals who I won't call them what I want to call them right now.
You can. I click the explicit button on the podcast.
It's cool. The game's called Active Shooter.
Right.
And you play as either the SWAT team or an active school shooter.
Oh, get out.
Nice.
No way. Is this a Steam bloody Greenlight game?
I think it's probably Kickstarter or something like that. It looks like some people...
Who is developing this?
I don't know, but there is a serious lack of ethics there. Regardless of whether you say computer games are causing, violence, all this sort of stuff.
Yes.
Someone is attempting to make money out of that. This is not the only subject that they shouldn't do computer games about. Can you imagine if there was one where, you're a murderer and you're going around murdering children? No one would accept it. So in effect, that's what this game is. it's generated a significant amount of bad publicity, but there are some of the usual suspects coming out and going, oh, well, if computer games don't cause violence, what's the problem with doing this? The problem is it's unethical.
Well, yeah, it's not about the psychology of the player in that case. It's about the psychology of the creator. That's what's concerning in that case.
And the screenshots of it wouldn't matter if it looked amazing, if the graphics were, but it looks like a PS1 game.
It's been knocked together
effectively,
to make money.
It's a money-making exercise off of controversy.
There was a game a couple of years ago that caused similar controversy called Hatred, which was a game whereby you played like a guy that kind of flipped in a kind of falling down style and goes off shooting people. Yeah. Now, that game was treated in the same way, but actually I think they're quite different.
Indeed.
I think Hatred was designed to be a almost like a tongue-in-cheek piss take of that type of video game, right? And I don't really agree with it because I don't think there's any need for that necessarily. You can play GTA and get the same thing. And better and more funny and more appropriate. But in this case, it is entirely designed, from what you've just told me, entirely designed to be controversial and cause trouble. And
I realise we're giving it attention by talking about it, but
that is true.
But at the same point, that is completely unethical.
Well, it does mean that the few people that listen to this podcast do not download that game.
No.
So then we've done something.
If you do, then tell me you've done it next time you see me, and I will tell you exactly what I think of you.
At the end of the day, if this game is ultimately just shit anyway, that'll do for it, because there'll be all the controversy and all the hype and all of that, and then it'll come out. It'll be a fucking shit video game, and nobody will buy it.
Yeah, I assume that Jim Sterling will do an amusing video taking the piss out of it, so that will make me happy.
Yeah, indeed.
Good. Oh yeah, the other news this week, talking about video game journalism, as that's what we are obviously doing here. A sort of interesting character in the video game industry passed away this week, Total Biscuit, if you're aware of him. So this guy was a big YouTuber and was, he had a mixture of supporters and detractors, mainly because for a long time he was one of the key guys that was pushing indie games and pushing back on AAA titles and stuff like that, and had a huge YouTube following. But then he was involved in some of the Gamergate stuff and kind of took the wrong side perhaps and made a bit of a fool of himself during that. But then in the last couple of months revealed he had cancer and actually sadly passed away very, 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 very rapidly. And yeah, I just thought I'd mention that. I mean, not necessarily everyone's cup of tea, but an important character, I think, in the YouTube video game world.
No, I'm going to tread carefully, obviously, because there's so many emotions on both sides with regard to this. He'd been suffering with cancer for quite a long time. It had been known. He'd recovered, and then it came back quite aggressively. Now, he was well known as a supporter of consumer rights within computer games. He was very well respected for that. I heard a lot of the stuff around the Gamergate stuff. I don't know directly how involved he was with it. I saw some of the harassment that some of his supporters and some of the people who were anti him were doing. I don't think there were any victories on either side with regard to that. Yeah. If he was involved in any of that harassment, then obviously, it makes him a bit of a scumbag. However, what I would say is that since he's passed away, people that I watch online who knew him personally have been absolutely devastated in terms of, these are people who've met him a couple of times. He is fully supported. I have seen two grown men break down on stream while they got the news while they were on stream. I have seen some of his friends, in terms of Jesse Cox and people like that, absolutely devastated with that. Yeah. So in terms of it, he obviously had a positive impact on a lot of people's lives. There may have been some negative impact as well. So I'm not going to give my view on where I stand with regard to that, but he's obviously made an impact on both sides.
Absolutely. I think it was the Co-optional podcast, wasn't it? That had a lot of really cool people on it, and was generally seen. Most people that had done the Co-optional podcast with him said he was a good dude. So anyway, best wishes to the old Total Biscuit crew.
Yeah, and obviously his wife and stuff like that. So
yeah, exactly. That's the most serious section we've ever done on the pod. Back to back, very serious. Crikey. Can
I have a go at the Star Wars prequels again, please?
Well, I think after that we'll just take a very, very quick break, and then we'll come back and I'm going to quiz you boys, right? Right, welcome back, folks. Now I'm going to test your gaming knowledge with a game that I like to call Guess the Game.
Oh, that is a snappy title.
It's got a title now.
You eight episodes to come up with that.
Yeah, Guess the Game.
It was worth the wait.
There's no jingle yet.
It was
I'm
worth it.
disappointed.
There isn't a jingle yet. But there you go. So that's moving onwards, getting more professional as we go.
It's good times.
So right, let me give us a little bit.
Well,
of,
until me and Andy come up with the answers, that's the least professional part of the pod.
Right, here we go. I'm going to give you a bit of background Tetris here. Here we go. Right.
Okay.
How are we doing? Everybody ready?
Again, that music now makes me nervous.
This game was released on the PS2 in 2005. 2005. Okay, clue number 2. This was the first of 7 main games.
Stop. Buzz.
Buzz quiz.
Yeah.
Incorrect.
Damn it.
Great guess though. Very nice guess.
A very left field guess as well.
I liked it.
7, did you say?
Yeah. Okay. The latest game. Clue number 3. The latest game in the series was released in 2015. 2015.
Stop.
Matthew Angel.
Skateboard thing. Oh, what's it called?
Skateboard thing.
What's the man's name?
Tony Hawk.
Yeah.
Is not the right answer. These clues are really generic. I'm sorry.
It's fine.
You get to get to the end.
Is it
It's
a
gonna be
really
bit more
obvious one? Okay.
Okay. So clue the number 4. The third game in the series had a mobile version.
Hold on.
Okay. Clue number 5. Clue number 5. You didn't necessarily have to use a traditional controller to play this game.
Stop. No. Stop.
Andy Roberts
Time Crisis.
is not the right answer. Matt Angel, you got one? You're looking at me.
SSX.
You stop saying snowboard games.
That's snowboard. That's not skateboard.
Sorry, they're the same.
Yeah, it's all good.
Clue number 6. You saw people rocking out to this in
Stop.
the arcades. Andy Roberts.
The video game is Guitar Hero.
Yay!
Yay!
Damn it.
Yes, well done. Guitar Hero was the correct answer. Released in 2005 on the PS2.
See, the reason I said SSX was there was a controller for that where you stood on it and you had to go back and forward, and it's awful. It's absolutely awful.
That does sound terrible. Yes, so the answer was Guitar Hero, a game that was very much of its own kind when it was very first released. And the final clue was going to be there's a South Park episode taking the piss out of this game, Guitar Quero, which is a brilliant episode of South Park. So Guitar Hero. Anybody play that thing?
Yeah. I had Guitar Hero. I had the full kit. I had the drum kit and everything.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh,
So-
you had Rock Band.
Yeah, Rock Band.
It was a Rock Band.
Yeah.
Yeah, it would have been. Yeah.
Now, being a person that can actually play a little bit of guitar yourself,
Yep.
I've always found the problem being that it's so different playing that to playing a real guitar, and the timing is not like as you would expect. I find it really hard to play Rock Band.
It is difficult. It is different. It's sort of similar skill sets, isn't it? It gets a bit more like playing the guitar, or in fact, it's much more like playing the bass than it is playing the guitar.
Right.
And I am a bassist, which helps. But that was a very strong terminology for what I actually do on a bass guitar. But it only really feels like you're actually playing it when you actually get to the higher levels of difficulty. So if you ramp it up to very difficult, then you're starting to feel a little bit more like you're playing like a solo or something like that.
Yes.
Obviously, it still doesn't work with chords and stuff, but sometimes you are like holding 2 or 3 of the keys down and stuff.
Okay.
So in more difficult levels of difficulty, it starts feeling a bit more like it.
Yeah.
But
I did enjoy Rock Band, and I've had some very humorous times. So you have a few drinks around at a house party and get the Rock Band out. It's pretty good.
Speaking as someone who cannot play a guitar because I've got no hand-eye coordination, I can say that not being able to play the guitar prepares you very well for not being able to play guitar very well.
Sounds about right. Well done, folks. And that nicely leads us into this week's top 5. Now, if you boys had been using your noggins...
Yeah, no, I caught that. That's why I went in with Time Crisis.
Yes,
I also went in with Buzz. So
yeah.
very nice. Yeah, good work. So you're paying attention, which I very much appreciate. Moving into this week's top 5, we're going to go for top 5 peripherals. Now, this is a bit of a left field one.
It is, and I had to put some thought into this one actually.
Yeah,
I didn't.
No, okay.
Matt knew
fair enough.
straight away.
Well, I know what his is, so.
Now, I'm trying to remember, just a weird one. Wasn't there a version of Donkey Kong where you actually had a pair of bongos?
You're right.
Yes. Yeah, there
that you
was.
would use
Yes.
as a controller.
And you had Samba de Amigo with the maracas
very
as well.
good.
So
That kind of
the
shit's pretty
musical ones are always quite fun. So
Would Rock Band or Guitar Hero get onto this list for you guys?
no, I forgot it existed.
Yeah, do you know what? I mean, it didn't make it on my list, but you're absolutely right. They completely changed. I mean, what they do, it was very clever of them because they made a way of selling quite expensive hardware to go along with a £50 game.
Yes.
And you could then add more because you could theoretically play with, I think, 2 guitars and a drum kit. So that was like 30 quid for probably more, 40
Certainly
quid
on
for
Rock
each guitar.
Band, you could have a vocalist, a guitarist, bass, and drums. Yeah. And also, they were some of the first peripherals that were actually okay. The physical item was not a piece of shit.
No, you're right.
They were
They were very well put together.
Yeah.
The drum kit, you could properly hammer it. It was,
yeah.
And I remember once actually trying to hook it up via USB to my laptop to then try and lay down some beats and stuff.
No joy.
Well, it was all right, but there was too much of a delay. There was like a fraction of a second delay between the strike and it firing off the sample, because you're using USB and stuff. You need to use MIDI for that kind of thing, really.
Exactly.
So yes, it took me about a day to find out that
great use of time.
Yeah, to find out that it didn't really work very well, and B, just to expose my hideous lack of ability on the drums.
Well, I think it was Bertrand Russell who said, "Time you enjoy wasting is not wasted time."
Oh no, I didn't enjoy it at all.
It's one of my favourite phrases though, because I think it justifies playing video games for 10 hours a
absolutely.
day.
Yeah, absolutely.
Matt, give us your first one for the top 5.
Right. How many am I allowed?
You're allowed 2.
I'm allowed 2. Right.
Yeah.
My first one I've already mentioned. It's the Buzz controllers.
Yes, they are really good.
I'm annoyed because I thought about it the other week and I was like, I'd really like to play Buzz with Kelly. We can sit on the sofa. She loves a quiz on the thing. You've got a big red button that you press to buzz in, and then you've got the 4 choices buttons. Yeah, fantastic. You could buy loads and loads of different games that had questions and stuff like that. They don't make them anymore. It's a shame. They haven't done a PS4 version, and that's really disappointing.
I suppose it's moved to mobile a lot of those games now. But having the physical buzzer really made you feel like you're in a game show.
Brilliant. And the fact that the game came packaged with 4 of them, so it didn't expect you to buy 2 and then buy the extra ones. It gave, this is a 4-player game that you can go up to. Here's 4 controllers. Fantastic.
Yeah, very nice.
Just to leap in there and give an honourable mention, this isn't a peripheral itself, but the evolution of that kind of game. So these kind of couch co-op party games, not even co-op, these kind of party games where everybody just logs in on their own phone. You don't have to install anything. You just go to a URL or whatever, and then you play all of that. I'm trying to think of some of the games that you can get on that, but they're really, really innovative and they're really good fun.
Quiplash does it.
Yeah. No, I think they're really cool, and it is a great idea because that's a way to involve people without you don't have to get controllers out. Everyone can do it straight away. It's really very cool.
Fantastic. But having a big button that you can push is amazing. So
exactly.
That's my first
one. The Buzz controllers are on the list. Andy, what do you got for us?
I've actually got quite a few. If we're only going to have 2, I'm just going to quickly check my list and make a quick choice.
Matt, what's your second one?
Right, my second one is going to get Andy angry.
Oh no! I am all behind this. Right, I mock it because it's stamp collecting in video game form.
Right.
At the risk of having a Dreamcast thing on every single top 5 that we do, it's the fishing rod controller for Sega Bass Fishing. Now, actually, I'm not a big. I don't enjoy fishing. I don't enjoy eating fish. Therefore, I don't get anything out of it. I don't enjoy sitting in the rain. I think rivers smell. I think fish smell. I'm not good with wiggly fish that are about to dead and whacking them on the head. But sitting there in your room, throwing a fake fishing rod and using the reels and all catching it, and it's got a bit of vibration function. Fantastic. Also, you could use this to play Soul Calibur, which is amazing. So someone figured out that actually it was compatible, and you only had to use the D-pad to move around, and then you could just swing your sword. The only thing you couldn't do was block, which I never did on Soul Calibur anyway. So
that is fantastic.
Loved it. Absolutely, really well made. Didn't get the best like in terms of it was compatible with Soul Calibur. You didn't want to play Soul Calibur with it, and it was compatible with Sega Bass Fishing. But it was fantastic.
Very nice.
That sort of leads me on to a story about my choice. And my choice is not going in the list because it was good.
Is it bananas because you played Dark Souls?
Yeah, no. No, it's not going in the list because it was good. It's going into the list because it was an incredible piece of salesmanship from Nintendo, where they basically took. Do you remember the really skinny kind of? I think they called it the Zapper, the really skinny gun that you got with the NES that you played Duck Hunt with.
Yeah.
They basically got one of those, put significantly more plastic around it, and then turned it into the Nintendo Superscope, which was a $60, but I think £70. I think it was a lot more expensive over here. £70, basically really cheap light gun. It was really cheap and plasticky. It just had form because it was fucking massive. And the only difference between it in the Zapper is the fact that it had all of the Super Nintendo buttons on it. So the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 buttons on it to do various things. But most of them were just like pause or do other things. But that led to one thing that you could do is you could play any Super Nintendo game with the Superscope because it technically had all of the buttons on it. A friend of mine, we used to have really very competitive games of Street Fighter 2, and a friend of mine actually beat his mate playing Street Fighter 2. So he was one guy was just on a controller, the other guy was on the Superscope.
That is shameful.
I want to see someone play NBA Jam on that. It'd be amazing.
That is shameful behaviour. Oh dear, bet he never let that one down.
No, but he was also. Well, actually, no, I can't say that because Matt's here. I was going to say Swindon fan, but there we go.
Oh, that's a shame.
It's fine. I'm used to it.
And finally, Andy, what have you got for us? Well, number 4, because I'm going to do number 5.
Okay. Do you know what? I'm going to. Does a standard controller for a console count?
I'm not sure because we might do a top 5 controllers.
Okay, all right then. I won't do that one then. In which case, I'm actually going to say. I'm going to say it's quite a boring suggestion, but I'm going to say the Wii Fit.
Oh,
because good shout.
Because the Wii came out and it was super innovative, and it suddenly got everybody playing video games together, families coming in playing video games together that they'd never done before. Yeah. My parents had one; they played video games, and they could
do Diane Udall's fitness challenge.
Yeah, and they were playing video games with each other, and all of their friends coming around and doing all of that. And then the Wii Fit opened it up to it, and like suddenly you had your like profile on there, so you can do your exercise, and it would track your exercises and stuff that you were doing, and it added like another really clever additional kind of dimension to what was already an incredibly well put together, well innovative, like fantastic console. So I honestly I think it was excellent.
I agree with that. I actually forgot it existed even though I found one in our spare room a few weeks ago, but it truly did change because everyone had a Wii at that point and the Wii was like wonderful, but that changed it from something that was you had it and you play it, but it was mainly your kids' consoles, to like adults would buy them just so they could have the Wii Fit.
Yeah, fair enough. Well, there it goes on the list. And finally, I'm going to add to the list. This was not good in any way. Well, no, it was good. It was innovative and it's very clever, but it was associated to a lot of very bad games, and that is the Xbox Kinect. Now,
what's that?
The Xbox Kinect.
Basically dance in front of your Xbox.
It was a little camera that you got with the Xbox probably about, 6-7 years ago when that Xbox, was it on the 360?
I believe it still exists on the basis that...
It was on the 360,
Don't you still wave at your Xbox or something to turn it on or something?
Well, they used to package it with the Xbox One, but now no longer. It's out because people were not plugging them in.
So this is, sorry, just to interrupt. This is the thing that the PlayStation then tried to with those sticks with the little balls on them.
But the cool thing about the Xbox Kinect was that you didn't need any peripheral. You just stood in front of it, and that's what was cool. And it was worth it for like Just Dance, and all other forms of Just Dance because that was actually really, really cool. And it would basically just video you, and it would just take, contrast points wherever your hands finished or your legs finished or whatever, and map you onto the thing, and then you would repeat the dance moves and stuff. But it was really cool, and it was super simple versus all those other ones where you had to carry a controller or calibrate it in some way. The Kinect, you just plugged it in and it just did it. But it's mostly worth it for the terrible Star Wars Kinect game, which included a section where you would play as like one of those like massive rancors.
Yeah,
and you would just walk around your living room like just waving your arms around, trashing Mos Eisley or whatever. It was brilliant.
That makes me think, and nobody's played on it yet. It makes me think of the robot thing for Nintendo Labo.
Oh yeah, exactly.
Because that looks like that kind of. It might be amazing fun. But
I think it would be if you play with kids. Basically, I think it would be really good. But what I might do, I might link into the description a video that Angry Joe did where they played Xbox Kinect with that Star Wars game. And it's fucking hilarious. So that is our top 5 list. We have the Buzz controllers, the Sega Bash fishing rod, the Nintendo Superscope, the Wii Fit, and the Xbox Kinect. How about that, fellas?
Sounds pretty good.
Yep.
It's another fantastic top 5 to add to the list. And now moving on towards the final section of the show, we're going to talk about what we've been playing this week. And I can tell you first up that I have been playing and finishing God of War.
You finished the story mode now?
I have finished the story mode.
Right, me and you need to talk at some point.
It's
when
very
Andy's
good.
Not around, yeah.
It's very, very good.
It really is.
It has an excellent story. It has some pretty cool characters. It's short. It's shorter than I maybe have liked. I mean, I could have done another world. Put it that way. Before I finished, I could have done one more world.
I agree. I'm looking forward to the sequel. It's left me wanting more.
What I did realise, though, as you're looking at this is not really a spoiler, but there's a big wheel where you can travel to different worlds, and it's set in the sort of Nordic gods thing. So you have like Jotunheim and Asgard and Midgard and all this stuff. You only travel to like 3 or 4 of them.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure they're all going to be DLC. It's like a wheel of DLC. That one's £7.
I think they're saving
£12.
stuff for the second game.
I don't know. Games last a long time these days. I think those worlds might be unlocked with DLC going forward.
I
would not be surprised.
I don't want any DLC for it. I want a full game.
Well, good luck with that. Well, it doesn't mean that the game you played isn't full. The DLC is on top.
No, don't want it.
What? So even if for a small price,
if they do any,
or if it's free, how about that?
If they do any story DLC, I'm unhappy.
Yeah. Well, even if it's free.
Yeah, I don't know how you do story DLC for that.
What do you mean? You have it's like season 1, and then season 2 starts, and then you play through season 2.
No, they need to do this. Continue the story in the second game. That's what they need to do.
That is harsh. What? So no, you don't want any free story DLC for any game?
No story.
You're
DLC.
a madman.
Well, and do we know that they are doing a direct sequel? Because what if the sequel takes it off into a different world?
I'd be extremely surprised if they didn't have a sequel to it.
Yeah, their business model might be to go, well, our sequel game, we'll charge up and we'll spend 4 or 5 years doing a proper sequel, which is taking it into a different world, and in the meantime, we'll drip feed some DLC out for people over the next 2 or 3 years.
The only thing I don't understand is how you do story DLC for that, based on the way that ends.
What do you mean?
I can't.
Well, you've got characters in a world, they do stuff, and there's a story associated.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't. Nothing has a. Most stories don't have a basic beginning, middle, and end. There's all kinds of stuff you can do.
Okay.
I'm
not convinced, but we'll see.
Well, I don't know what you mean, because there's obviously you've got characters in a world, they can do anything they want. There's all kinds of options for stories, right? They're not both dead. No spoiler, but they're not both dead.
That kind of is a spoiler.
Well, it is a spoiler, but it's unlikely they're both going to die. So they could go off and do stuff.
I don't think you should have story content that is additional to a main game. That's my view, because I think potentially DLC should be a choice in purchasing it, and that shouldn't be part of the story in my view. But
surely a sequel's your choice to buy.
Indeed, I agree. But I don't think that DLC for a game.
Right, well, if they release free DLC, you have to say now on the pod that you will not play it. Free DLC?
I will.
6 hours of free DLC, you're not going to play it.
You have to play it. Free DLC.
Get out! Get out!
I may even buy the DLC, but I'm not happy about it.
No, I'm not having that. Right, anyways, well, there we go. Crikey, controversial stuff. But yes, Andy, it's worth playing. It's very, very good. And don't get upset if they release free DLC.
I will get round to it at some point, I'm sure.
Yes, so what have you been up to, Andy?
I've been a couple of little bits and pieces. Played a bit of Overcooked, couch co-op Overcooked, which is still good fun, still really funny. Mostly though, over the last week since the last episode, I've been playing Far Cry 5.
Oh yeah, which you nicked after the pod last week.
Yes,
and how is it?
I don't hate it.
You don't hate it?
No, I'm really enjoying it. I think I will get bored of it before the end. I think I will. I've just literally, as of this morning, completed like the first third because it's kind of set up in 3 kind of areas, if you like.
Yes.
To liberate, and I've liberated the first of the 3.
Can I ask a little question? There's a slight spoiler.
Yeah, go for it. I don't care.
What did you make of those bits where you get like taken? You get marked and you get taken. What did you think of those bits that forward the story?
I found. Initially, I was like, "Oh fuck! Have I ruined this? Have I ruined my game here?" And then I realised, "Oh no!" Thankfully for me, both of those occasions that happened in that first third, it was very quick because I'm shit at video games.
Yeah.
Had I spent ages fighting those people and then been taken, I would have been really miffed.
Yes.
I'm never a fan of that kind of thing because you feel like it's being taken out of your control a little bit.
But in a way, that's why I quite liked it.
Okay.
Because in an open world thing, sometimes you don't forward the story fast enough and you end up boring yourself because you're off doing other missions.
Yeah.
And I quite like the idea that, I've been searching for fucking herbs for the last hour. Yeah. And then it's like, fuck you, I'm going to put you back in the story. I thought that was quite good.
I do wonder, I didn't put any thought into when it happened, but I'm sure there must be some kind of trigger in the you get to a certain point after which maybe you've got a certain number of the kind of resistance points or whatever. I don't know. Yeah. There must be some kind of trigger for it, but it is really clever how they can kind of piece all of that stuff together, and the stuff that feels like story missions but are actually just technically side missions. Yeah. You can take or leave them, and they still fit in regardless of when you play them. It's really well constructed in that respect. I've enjoyed a lot of the story, particularly a lot of the kind of the fringe story. Some of the slightly crackpot kind of like the preppers and people like cool, that. Yeah, because it started feeling a little bit like kind of the fun stuff on GTA because there was enough thought and kind of thought and care and a good slice of humour going into a lot of the additional kind of peripheral stuff in it. I really like the bad guys in it. I think the whole thing is set up really, really well. I think there is a lot to like about that game. I've lasted much, much longer in this one than I have in any Far Cry game before. It also, even though you're still doing the same thing, they've managed to make it bigger in scope, so you don't feel like you've got a massive bewildering world where I've got to go and go to this icon, do all of this stuff. And look how fucking big the map is because each of the kind of the little bits you're doing are big enough and they take long enough that even though it's a massive sprawling game, they haven't gained quantity by just chucking loads and loads of repetitive stuff in. I guess that's what I'm saying. What we were saying before when we were chatting about open world games is they've dressed the story around the missions, if that makes sense. And it's a lot better in that respect. However, I do think I think I'm going to get bored before the end. It's taken me quite a long time just to do that first third, but we'll see. I
am very surprised you're so positive about it, to be honest.
Would you have enjoyed it as much if you paid for it?
Honestly, don't think that has a bearing on how my enjoyment of games.
I think you'd still hate it, even if you got it for free, right? If you didn't like it, you'd still hate it.
I would, yeah.
But I'm just thinking there's some games that I when I borrow them, I because I've not got that, I don't feel like I've wasted my money on something.
No,
sometimes true. I forgive things that I wouldn't do otherwise.
But I've been playing it more or less solidly since I picked it up, so I think that speaks highly of the game. I think it's decent. I do think it's decent. Yeah. You know, it's got face. It's bits. It's not perfect, but no, fair play. I'm very impressed with it.
Nice. And Matthew, what's been going on in your world? More magic?
A bit more magic, a bit of Fortnite, a bit of Overwatch. But the only different thing I've been playing has been on the Switch. Bloodstained Curse of the Moon.
Wow. Now that sounds like something.
Right, it's a stretch goal on another game. So,
What?
let me get his name right. Koji Igarashi. So he was the original producer of Castlevania.
Okay, yeah.
Konami decided they didn't want to do 2D Metroidvania games anymore, so they're not making a Castlevania game in that mould. So he kickstarted a new style of that. So effectively, it's just like a new Castlevania game called Bloodstained Ritual of Blood, I think it is, or something like that.
There's a lot of blood related.
Yeah.
But this was on Kickstarter,
activities.
and that the graphics on it look phenomenal, and it looks so good. But that's due out later in 2018.
It sounds very goth now.
It is. But so was Castlevania.
Yes,
but
true.
I love Castlevania games, so
I love the Castlevania cartoon as well.
Yeah,
on Netflix.
indeed.
It's very good.
But as part of the stretch goals, was that he was going to do a sort of 8-bit, 16-bit, like sort of mini sort of Bloodstain game, and effectively what he's done is it looks exactly like a SNES game.
Oh, nice.
Sort of nice. I don't like pixel art generally, like retro style pixel art just for the sake of it. But the fact that this is a precursor to what he's going to be doing with Ritual of Blood, I'm very excited for the other game. This one I've just been playing because it's like a Castlevania game and it's quite nice.
Sounds very cool.
It's well done because it's by the same guy who did Castlevania. It's very similar to Castlevania.
Yeah.
I wish it wasn't pixel art, but at least it's given me the idea that the other game that comes out, which is going to look beautiful, is going to have the good gameplay as well. So
cool. Very nice. And so that will lead us on to the very final part of the show. This used to be the Overwatch section. We're going to talk about Fortnite though. Because we're not really playing the Overwatch. We played a little bit the other day. I'm still very confused. It's all getting very confusing. There's so many changes now. I can't really keep track of them.
I had a good morning this morning with it, and it does seem like what's her name? The new character, Brigitte has become meta, so she's in almost every.
I just can't get it anymore. Like I learned the core 5 or 6 characters that I know, and now I just can't deal with it. And any character that's had a major change, like Mercy or something, if I just drop into Mercy, and I've got no fucking idea what I'm doing anymore. I really don't feel as connected to the game as I once did, like when we were playing.
No, but after 300 hours, you're not going to feel as connected, are you? So
yeah, it's fair enough. So what's been going on in Fortnite? There's been a fair few new bits and bobs, right?
Just to report to all of our listeners, you now have. We've spoken about this before, that you are now a fully paid up member of the bourgeoisie.
Yeah.
I am.
You've defied your working class roots and paid for a season pass.
Well, what happened was I took consensus from my communist brothers, and they decided that if I was really going to be equal to you guys, the only way was for me to pay the man. It's very disappointing.
And you've become, I think, as Matt Holland put it, you've become a complete challenge whore as well, haven't you?
Well, it does. I must admit, the funny thing is that it's not actually the skins and all the other stuff. It's actually the challenges that are worth paying the subscription for, just because it gives you another angle in the game.
It does, although I found that it changes it a little bit too much, because we'll often go, you guys will go, let's go to here so we can get our loot boxes, and I'm just like going, let's not go there, let's go somewhere else. It's almost like the challenges are forcing the way that we're playing now.
They are, but the games are short, right?
Yeah.
So
I would say you should play the challenges on your own. I really think you should play the challenges on your own. I think
I never play on my own ever.
No,
but there are times as well where you guys are all going after a thing, and I'm just like going, I've still got one of those loot boxes back on week 1, and you guys are going, well, we're not going there. We've all done our week 1.
Well, you could just screw the squad over and just go and do the challenges. Right?
I've done that before. So.
Yeah. No, I find I never play on my own. I just don't. The only thing that interests me about that is playing the co-op. I've got no solo matches.
I'm a
stuff.
big fan of the solo.
I like the solo stuff.
Can't like
it. I play it less at the moment. Just that's only because I've got lots of other games on the go at the moment.
Yeah.
And when we first picked Fortnite up, I wasn't playing anything, so I was playing it on my own a lot. But it's still good fun. But what I don't do is I don't drop into squads when I'm on my own.
No,
if
me
that
neither.
makes sense.
Yes, fair point.
There's no point.
Yeah, if I was going to play mine, I'd play solo for sure. Yeah. But there's been a few other weird things that have happened. There were some new weapons, right? There's the gold burst assault now, which is pretty cool. There's the jetpack, which has arrived, and there's some controversy about another jetpack, Jetpack, right? That was released.
Yeah, so this is so Epic announced that there's going to be a wave of new backpack items that come into the game. They're still playing around with a load of them. So the jetpack was the first one. That's the obvious one. It's really quite good fun actually as well. The jetpack It doesn't give you a massive added advantage because you can't aim down your weapon when you're in the air and stuff like that. So it doesn't massively kind of OP the person with the jetpack on, but it helps you with maneuverability and stuff. But one of the ones, and this is something they were actually just trialing, was a backpack which shows you where the centre of the final circle is going to be. Is that right?
Well, I don't think it was the final one. I think it's the next circle.
Ah, okay.
I think potentially it's going to show you where the next circle is going to be.
Right.
So,
okay.
I don't know if it's single use, but I quite like the idea of a single use one that does something like that. Takes up a slot in your inventory, gives you something interesting, but you have to give up a gun for it. So
nice.
Yeah, I think the if it is, as you say, if it is that you choose to use it, i.e. that it tells you where the next circle is going to be, the tactics of choosing when to use that suddenly massively comes in. Do we do it now, or cool. do we wait till later on to do it? That's quite cool.
I think my general feeling would be that you would instantly use it, go, guys, this is where the next circle's going to be, and you drop it and you get a gun. Or you wait until you need that slot.
Yeah, I mean, unless the circle was just about to close in on you and you have 20 seconds left.
Yeah. In which case you wait 20 seconds and use it. So.
Yeah. Right then, lads, before we disappear, Matt, maybe you can dig into the mailbag. Because I think we had a couple of questions coming in this week.
We had a couple of video game questions, but they're all from my friends, so they're all designed to taunt Andy. So,
okay, good. Well, let's just do a couple of quick questions. Why are
your friends trying to taunt me?
I don't know. Normally it's me. Normally they would take anyone's side but me. So,
right, Matt's just dipping his hand deep into the bag.
The first one, and I don't think I've shared this one with you guys, is... Why is Toe Jam and Earl the best Mega Drive game?
Oh, Toe Jam and Earl was pretty cool.
And I have a prediction on my WhatsApp for what Andy is going to say.
Oh, here we go.
Is the prediction I've never played it?
My prediction was it's not because Micro Machines is. I just said this one would make Andy talk about bloody Micro Machines again.
No, I never played.
It's a bit weird, to be honest.
It was good though.
It was good, but
the characters were good.
Weird.
Yeah, it was really weird.
My favourite game on the Mega Drive was maybe Mickey Mouse Castle Illusions, which was very, very cool. Apart from Sonic,
I was about to say Sonic the Hedgehog for me.
It's no Micro Machines 2 Turbo Tournament.
All right.
Is it?
No.
What else you got?
Right. Next one. Who would win in a rumble between Streets of Rage and Golden Axe?
Streets of Rage, hands down.
Well,
I'd pick up a fully roasted chicken.
Okay, are we talking about a fight between the characters? This is what I can't understand. The characters in them or the games themselves?
Either way, Streets of Rage wins.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, you could have fire-breathing dragons on Golden Axe.
That is true, but you don't have a really high kick that goes above the height of your own head.
Okay, so I'm outvoted on this where it's Streets of Rage 3, right?
I just fucking love Streets of Rage.
2.
Well, 2, yeah.
2's the best one.
2's the best one.
I thought 3 was the one that had the kangaroo with boxing gloves on.
It is, but 3 was a bit weird. 2 was the boy.
2 is definitive.
Okay.
Yeah. Definitive.
Golden Axe was ace.
It was good.
But Streets of Rage was, I mean, even though it was on the same console, it came out on the same console, it was a generation apart almost in terms of its kind of its scope and its its execution. Also, it's just a much more advanced video game, it feels.
I think it's also very now as well. Like Streets of Rage 2 is the most synthwave thing you could possibly have.
True,
it's very, very 2018.
Okay. The final one is more of a discussion point, which was about in terms of games that let you plug the controllers into the cartridge, Dizzy Tennis was a better game than Micro Machines.
What is going on here?
Now, so I never played Dizzy Tennis. I googled Dizzy Tennis, and all I got, there was literally nothing about a video game called Dizzy Tennis. It was just about lots of information on if you're a tennis player, what should you do if you keep getting dizzy?
Is it drink a lot of squash?
Well, there you go. I don't even know. One thing I don't understand is why there is a plethora of like tennis related sort of brand association games. Why do you always get that? You get like Yoshi's Tennis for some reason.
I don't know, but one of the best tennis games that ever existed apart from maybe Virtua Tennis, which was really good. But Anna Kournikova Smash Court Tennis on the original PlayStation.
Yeah,
it was ridiculous. Like, it was arcadey, so like they all had big heads and would like you could unlock ridiculous. They the tennis rackets were like twice the size of these and it was so much fun. So I'd love a new one of those. But
Ace. Well, there you go.
Ace.
Hey!
Oh, look at that. There we go.
And a mensch for Anna Kournikova Tennis. Who'd have thought it?
It was so good.
Right then, boys. I'm afraid it's that time again where I have to bid everybody adieu. So I'm going to say thank you very much for coming and thank you for listening. And Andy.
Cheerio. Bye-bye.
See you later, Matt.
Bye, everyone.
Cheerio, folks.